I'm Tim McDonnell. This is in the FCS Huddle. Now, one of the things that's remained constant in FCS football over the years has been the good teams and the great teams. And the great teams have the ability to move on after a loss or move on after a close win because the next game is the most important game. Now, two of the teams I look at this week, Illinois State and Youngstown State, they both have to play each other after just uncharacteristic performances last week. Both teams have a lot to lose and a lot to gain. It's a really important game in the middle of the season. Now, the next team, I think you should look at Georgia Southern, too. Don't forget about Georgia Southern. They lost in Week 2 to the Citadel. Their defense has stepped up. They've just looked dominant. It might be the best defense that Jeff Monken's ever had since he's been there. And the offense is clicking. Two quarterbacks. Whoever's benefiting the offense will work for that team. And Georgia Southern really has a chance to make some statements these next couple of weeks. And then the downside of losses, Towson and Delaware. Towson lost to LSU, then they lost to JMU last week. Suddenly they're finding themselves in must-win situations. In Delaware, they just look like a completely different team. They haven't been able to run the ball. Both teams have a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. And how about some other teams? Tennessee State and Alabama A&M. Why can't my undefeated teams get some love? No one in the polls is giving them any love. Tennessee State, Michael German, Travis Ward, there's some playmakers right there, just like other teams. Alabama A&M, Deontay Mason, Kadarius Lacey. They have a lot of playmakers. They just don't have the toughest schedule, so people aren't giving them credit. Then some of the most underrated teams in my mind, Albany, their only losses to Youngstown State. Drew Smith has been an absolute monster. 12 touchdowns, leads the nation in rushing touchdowns, I should say. Harvard, they could run the table this year. Harvard's looked almost unstoppable. Their defense is amazing against the run. Stony Brook, don't forget about Stony Brook in the Big South. You know, they have an easy schedule, like you said, but they still have a chance to win a lot of games and make some noise in the playoffs. Cal Poly, no one wants to rank them that high, but they've just won games. That's all they do. South Dakota State, Zach Zenner and that team, they're a little bit they almost run the ball too much, but it could be a problem later down the road. But eventually I think South Dakota State can make a lot of noise in the Missouri Valley. This is Week 7 preview. I'm Tim McDonnell in the FCS Huddle.